everybody. Welcome to the children's sermon. You made it back. Hooray! Another day, another children's sermon. Today's story, once again from the Jesus Storybook Bible, it's called Going Home. And it's cool because it talks about some stories about Jesus after he's raised from the dead, and then it ultimately ends with Jesus telling the story of Jesus' ascension, which is the story that we're going to hear in church this Sunday. Pastor Gary's going to preach a sermon all about the ascension, so stay tuned for that. But now I'm going to hop out of here so that you can check out the story, and then be sure to stop back in because I have another extra special little children's message after we hear the story. See you in a second. Bye-bye. Going home. Jesus' friends were afraid. So they were hiding in an upstairs room with the door bolted shut. But that didn't stop Jesus. He just walked straight through the wall. "It's a ghost!" Thomas screamed and hid under the table. But it wasn't a ghost. "I'm hungry," Jesus said. "What's for lunch?" Peter gave him a fish. They all hung back and watched him eat it. "This can't be," they were telling themselves. "It's impossible. It's not happening." But it was, right in front of them. "Delicious!" Jesus wiped his mouth with the back of his hand and grinned. "Can a ghost do that?" He winked, and they all laughed. "I'm really here," Jesus said. And he really was. Peter's heart leapt with joy, and he fell into Jesus' arms, hugging and kissing him, and the others followed. They felt their hearts would burst from the happiness. The friends ate together and chatted happily. And every now and then, they'd just gaze at Jesus and have to touch him to be sure they weren't dreaming. Jesus had a real body, but this body was better. It had come through death and couldn't get sick or be killed again. This body would live forever. Jesus had come back with a brand new body. Not only were sad things coming untrue, the friends realized, they were becoming new again. Was God going to make everything new? Jesus said, "I am the Savior and the rescuer of the world." And they knew, because he couldn't stay dead, because Jesus had come alive again, that somehow everything would be all right. A few days later, as they walked together, Jesus told his friends, "It's time for me to go home to my Father." They all looked worried, and then they remembered what Jesus had told them before he died. "There's a place for you. I'll get it ready," Jesus had said. "You know the way." Thomas had panicked. "I don't know the way to get there." "Yes, you do," Jesus had said. "I am the way and the truth and the life." When at last they reached the top of the highest hill near Jerusalem, Jesus turned to them and said, "Go everywhere and tell everyone the happy news. Tell them I love them so much that I died for them. It's the truth that overcomes the terrible lie. God loves his children. Yes, he really does." Suddenly, the whole sky was filled with a dazzling light. "Now everyone can come home to God," Jesus said. "Death is not the end of you. You can live forever with your Father in heaven because I have rescued the world." And something amazing happened. Jesus rose up into the bright air higher and higher. They shaded their eyes and watched him go until a cloud hid Jesus so that they couldn't see him anymore. They stood looking up into the sky like that for a long time. Suddenly, two shining men appeared. "What are you doing?" they asked. "Jesus has gone up to heaven, but one day he will come back, in the same way you saw him leave from heaven and from the sky." Jesus' friends went back to Jerusalem, and with a strange gladness inside their hearts and something Jesus said that stuck in their minds. "Even though you won't be able to see me anymore, I will never leave you. No, not ever. I will be with you. Yes, always and forever." How can Jesus be with us and leave us at the same time? They wondered. They didn't understand. No, but soon they would. Okay, you're going to want to watch carefully. I've been working on this for all of quarantine. It's a magic trick, but it's a really good one. Are you ready for this? Watch carefully on my feet. If I concentrate really hard, I can float. Did you see that? Just for a second. It's not, can't like float away or anything, but Just get off the ground a little bit. It's pretty good. Oh, well, phew. I'm all tuckered out from that magic trick. That was pretty good, right? Did you see how I did it? If you watch closely, you can kind of see. The way to do it is that you stand on just the tiptoe of one of your feet and not both of them at the same time. Watch the video again. You'll see it pretty clearly. Yeah, it wasn't actually a magic trick. I can actually float. But the story that we read from the Jesus Storybook Bible is about Jesus' ascension, where Jesus floats all the way up to heaven. It's a crazy story to think about, but it's really important because it reminds us that Jesus was raised from the dead and he didn't die again someday later. He went back to be with God. And so the whole purpose of the ascension is to just tell us that these promises are forever, that when Jesus rose from the dead, it changed the way that death worked forever. And it really connected heaven and earth. Jesus was on earth and then he floated up to heaven. And so from now on, the two are linked and connected. And so for your practice this week, right? Because we've got to do some work time. We've got to put our faith into practice. I want you to just take some pictures. Maybe you can borrow one of your parents' phones, or maybe you have a camera of your own. But look around you and take pictures of places where you see heaven on earth today. Maybe it's nature. Maybe it's the beautiful mountains that we all get to look at every single day. Maybe it's someone in your family or a friend who really shows you heaven on earth and God's grace in your life each and every day. Whatever it is, I want you to just be looking for the ways that we see God's blessings in our world right now. Because that's what Jesus was all about and what this ascension story is all about. About earth and heaven forever being united. About God's promises always being with us. I'm Pastor Nate. Thanks so much for watching. See you next week.